Today we find ourselves in beautiful Zion National Park. I am on the trail and we're headed up to Angel's Landing. We're going to go ahead and cover kind of the whole trail today. So if you want to see how it's going to look, if you're looking to climb it, or if you can't make the trail due to you just can't get there or the hiking is too strenuous for you, you'll be able to see what everybody else who is hiking the trail, a little glimpse of what they get to see. So a few things to remember about Angel's Landing's trail is no pets are allowed. Also, you are going to need to have a permit if you are going to do the last summit. You can see there, I'm pointing out there, that is kind of where we're headed up the trail. Anyway, you will have to have a permit if you want to go all the way to the end of the trail on Angel's Landing. So you'll need to keep that in mind. It is a lottery permit ran by the Park Service, so you'll need to look into that if you are planning on doing this hike. And you can kind of see here, I'll try not to be too jerky, at the same time speed up some of the trail, so you kind of get a look back. Here we are looking back kind of where we've come. We're kind of headed up the valley, and we did start out at the beginning at Grotto Trailhead. There are restrooms there and you probably can get some water. You will need to remember that you'll need to carry any water you need, any snacks you want, because there will not be any of that water or things for the rest of the trail. So all the way back up, all the way back. You also will probably take the tram to get to the Grotto Trailhead from the visitor center. So you will be, whatever you're carrying will be on that tram as well. Recommended kind of like a day pack or something so you can have your hands free for the climb. You can see here that we have headed up the switchbacks kind of, and you get some really beautiful views. If you look down there closely, you can see the little people coming up the switchbacks of this valley here. It is a gorgeous hike. Kind of looking back, you can see the tram road down there following along the Virgin River. So the beginning of the hike is not super strenuous, and then you get to the switchbacks and it's definitely, we're gaining altitude fairly fast here, but there's not really steps. These switchbacks here are just kind of a pavement, so there's not steps in this section of the trail. And you can see kind of a good look back there. It gives you some beautiful views here before we head kind of into the canyon section. We got a little bit more of the trail you can see looking up here. I really like this section of the trail because it allows you to be able to see where you've come from, kind of where you're going. It gives you kind of a really cool view, as well as beautiful view of the canyon down below. So even if you don't get the permit where you can go to this section is very beautiful as well on the trail. So Angel's Landing is a very popular trailhead, getting to be quite very famous, allowing you to have beautiful views of the Zion National Park. I've been to Zion several other times. I've never done Angel's Landing, so this will be my first time. So I'm enjoying that kind of. Getting to see that. I was very excited that I got the lottery tickets because they can be a little challenging to get. And you can view here, we're kind of headed in between into the canyon section of the trail. So we're kind of heading into the Refrigerator Canyon section, which gives it's a little bit cooler in here. You kind of got the creek going along the trail. It offers you a very different kind of view than you just had back there. So the trail gives you diverse scenery and things, which makes it very beautiful. You will need to remember, depending on what time of the year that you hike the trail, it could be cold or it could be extremely hot. So keep in mind that. I'll do a little speed up along here, but this is a beautiful section. Just looking up, you got the cliffs on both sides towering above you. You're walking kind of like along the creek here, just kind of doing a gap between the mountains. So if you want to bring hats, remember that. Sunscreen if you have trouble with sunburning. Sunglasses, because it is bright out here. I am hiking this trail in October, so the weather is very nice. I mean, I've got a light jacket in case it gets a little cooler, but you can just take it off quickly because you're going to warm quite a bit up with the trail, because you are definitely heading up. Also, you want to make sure and remember to bring enough water. And we'll see if we can't swing back here and get a good view of back where we came from. So you can see we're heading up right through that crack there in the rock. So the trail is about 5 miles. And you get an elevation change of about 1,488 feet. You probably want to wear whatever footwear you are comfortable with hiking and rough terrain. So the trail is very doable so far. I mean, it is, you're definitely going up the mountain. But other than that, it's been a good trail. Of course, it's got uneven parts. You can kind of, if you see it, the concrete, even on the kind of paved areas here, are uneven. You've had multiple different switchbacks coming up. We're headed to a few more here. But you're going to see some great scenery in the park. So today I'm just planning on doing the Angel's Landing and then taking the tram kind of up and down the park. So I'm not planning on doing any of the other hikes today. I have done some different ones in the past when I've been here. But today just kind of headed for Angel's Landing and then just kind of quick taking the tram and just looking out the windows and stuff along the way. And you can see that we are headed up for another steep spot here. It definitely looks like if it was raining, you'd get some nice gully washers along here, and it would probably be extremely slick. Give you a view of back where we're coming from. Came right up there and we're headed up these switchbacks along the top here. And then we'll give you some views of these smaller switchbacks down that way. So the trail is bound to be very crowded since it is such a popular trail, depending on what time of the year you choose to climb Angel's Landing. Spring and fall, to me, would be your optimum, both to try to beat some of the crowds as well as have the best temperatures and thing for the season. Summer is going to be very hot and busy, so you need to keep that in mind while you're planning your trip. And winter, you could run into some snow and stuff. You just might want to check the condition of the trail if you decide to go then. And you could probably check that at the ranger station down at the visitor center. And so we've made it up here to Scouts Lookout. So this is, you can come up to Scouts Lookout even if you didn't get the permits. You are allowed up to this point. There are some restrooms up at this point as well. So this is a good place to get some good views of the canyon and stuff. Here is, I'll show you some good spots here, kind of looking back, even if you didn't get a permit and make it all the way up to where you can go to the end. This is a good viewpoint from here. It's also a good point if you have somebody in your party who is extremely afraid of heights. So the next section is going to be a little scary more on the heights kind of thing. You're going to have chains and steps. You're going to be going out kind of out on a ridge. So if you are extremely afraid of heights, you'll need to keep that in mind. I did have somebody in my party who was not thrilled with heights, and they did very well, but it was very nerve-wracking to them. Also, you want to be very polite and courteous to your fellow hikers. You might need to step aside and just let them take their time passing each other because the trail does get much thinner. So Angel Landing has had deaths, so they do say to be quite cautious. But overall, just the hiking that I have done, they do have chains in most of the worst spots. If you're just patient, take your time, and be careful, it is not a terrible trail. As you can see here, though, it's definitely uneven. It's not going to be smooth. You're going to be along the cliff edge down there, and they're high cliffs. So you want to keep that in mind. You can kind of see there, you just kind of hug the chains here. So there definitely were people hiking the trail that did not get permits. I did not see any rangers so far. They do say that they may have rangers along the trail at any point and that they may do stop and check permits. So if you did get your permit, you will want to remember to bring it along if you need to print it, or you are supposed to be carrying the permit with you. And you can kind of see here where those cliffs are right there, and it is a long way down. But you're getting some beautiful scenery. And I mean, the trail, there are probably a lot more trails out there all over different places in Utah and Arizona where you have these hills and cliffs that people go on all the time. It's just the crowdedness of this trail, you do have to watch out. It does tend to be quite crowded. So that does cause a little bit more on the factor of just being patient. Here you can kind of get a view of how thin some of this path is. You're on this cliff here on both sides, and you kind of got your carved out footsteps right there. Kind of swing around there. It's hard to give the full effect of the path, but it's beautiful. And here you can kind of tell you're out on this ridge here. So you got the canyon on both sides. You do have some other parts of the hills and stuff that are not far, but the canyon is in between you. And there you can kind of see the tram road down there and the Virgin River. So it is a beautiful and lovely trail. It's fun, but it does keep you on your toes. You want to stay focused in this section and keep an eye on where you're stepping. Make sure you bring your camera and stuff because you'll want to make sure you get your photos in. There we go. We're getting some good views here. So a beautiful part of Zion National Park. So there also is some other famous hikes and things that you can do here in the park. The tram does run. You will want to watch out. Some stops you only can go one way, so you need to keep that in mind as you're planning your day and your hiking. The subway is also a very popular one at the end of the tram ride, where you walk along You can walk up the river and also go into some slot canyons, which I have not done yet. I would love to try doing that at the subway. Just have not had the time. There's so many beautiful things to see in this part of the country, in the Grand Circle and the parks, all the national parks in that Grand Circle, as well as just the surrounding areas of the states. They offer so many beautiful and unique opportunities. As you can kind of see here, you do have to do a little scrambling, up and down. You kind of like to have your hands on those rocks as well as your feet. So the perspective of how hard this trail is really going to depend, I think, on each person. Some people were saying, oh, it's totally scary, it's totally hard. And then the next person you're going to talk to is like, oh, it's not bad at all. So it really is going to depend on, I think, what other hikes you've done, what you're familiar with, how scared of heights you are, that kind of thing. To me, it was not, I did not think it was the most, I've done other hikes and things. It wasn't the worst hike for me by any means. To me, it wasn't even that scary, but you definitely were on the edge. You definitely did want to take your time. I did like having that chain, and it did go through your mind every now and then. What would happen if this chain just came loose? But that chain did give you a lot of insurance. I mean, you felt much safer having it there. And there kind of, you get a look back at the trail where it came from, just kind of along that spit there. And you can kind of see the carved out steps that you have. Like in this section, it is upwards of just kind of on these little carved sections. And as you can see, not all sections do have chains, only certain ones. So hiking poles would have been nice, like on part of the sections on this trail. So if you wanted to bring them, they wouldn't be a bad idea. But also, I wanted to have my hands for this part of the trail once you got here, because I wanted to be able to put my hand out on the rocks and have it on the chains. So in that case, they wouldn't have the best. So if you had somewhere you could like stash them out before you got to like the chain section, or somewhere you could secure them on your pack, they would be a nice idea for the lower part of the trail. It has definitely turned out to be an absolutely beautiful day. The weather has been great, about the perfect temperature. You can kind of see, even though we're still along that ridge and everything, it is kind of flattening out a little bit. And there we're kind of getting some of those views back there, the first switchbacks that we came on, and the Virgin River down there. And you can see that we've gained quite a bit of altitude. We're coming up along some of the other sides of the mountains here. So they did not exactly recommend this trail for kids. That will be your opinion, how old, if you do have kids, or how old they are, what they're used to, and things like that. But of course, I would think if you did have young children, you would want to be extremely cautious. You can kind of see there where your trail came from and the canyon that it came up. So to get the permits, they are a lottery. So you're not guaranteed when you submit. You do have to do some pay, and then you're not guaranteed to get any refunds back. So you will definitely want to look into that lottery system before you plan a trip to the top. And here you can see we're kind of making that final ridge back along the top, getting close to the end. So you can kind of see you're out here on the ridgeback, both sides. You get to see down. So it is a very neat experience. And you get kind of a beautiful view there of a horseshoe kind of figuration down there with the water and the road. You can kind of see where the tram goes up the canyon. So once you reach the summit, it gives you a spectacular 360-degree panorama of the landscape around you. So we've made it here, and you kind of get to see the beauty of all the different cliffs and color around you. I would mention to make sure that you are polite when you get to the end. Everybody would like to see it, and everybody wants their photos and everything. So you want to get in, get your photos, and then go back a little ways, and still you get to see most of the view. At the same time, you get to enjoy it and let everybody else. So this is kind of the look back. In a way, I think going back was almost more spectacular. Like going forward, somehow you didn't quite realize some of the places, like how narrow they were or thin they were for some reason for me. So going back, kind of, I guess you are kind of going down the elevation instead of going up. I'll kind of zoom through here so we get a little speed, since we did already video this and have covered the same footage. But on the way back, your eye catches different things, and it's very beautiful. Definitely would not want to know what it would feel like to head down that direction right there. So I'm not super scared of heights. I'm not somebody that just wants to go skydiving or anything like that. But, you know, looking off the edge doesn't just terrify me. But I did have somebody at my party who really did not want to go out here because they just did not want to handle the heights and everything. And that's definitely understandable. If you do have somebody that just understand that it is a real fear. And I mean, it can be extremely scary. There definitely were areas on this trail that, kind of here, you're just on the edge. So you can kind of see going back on the trail, I actually think sometimes it captured how neat and the trail was more than even going up. You got like a different feel. So we'll kind of do another time lapse here, a little faster, just kind of because we got some of the same scenery going on. You can see you will definitely be passing people on the trail since it is such a popular trail here in the park. So if you're thinking, oh, I'll get some time when it's not going to be super crowded, I'm not sure like if you went real late or real early trying to catch like sunset or sunrise, how the crowds would be, but most of the time you're going to have a pretty good amount of people that you're just going to be passing and hiking along with, which is not all bad. You know, you're all out there excited and it's a different experience. I'm normally looking for less crowded trails, but of course, some of the most famous trails are going to always be crowded. And we'll give you a quick zoom down the trail here now that we've made it back to some of the switchbacks past scouts. As you can see, the trail is got some potholes and things. We've made it back through the Refrigerator Canyon. We're here at the top, kind of about to head down the switchbacks. I think the trail was beautiful even up to just this point if you hiked it, because the switchbacks here, it still offered you some neat scenery looking back. If you just wanted a shorter hike, you wanted to go part way and then turn around and go back. It still allows you to see some of the beauty here that's offered in the Zion National Park. So it's definitely even beautiful here at the bottom. You can kind of see this at the beginning was an easy trail heading up there along the Virgin River. So it offers you a good different view of the different sceneries. When you start out from the bottom, you go through the canyon kind of up along. You can kind of see where you were up there towards. Get a little bit of tram footage here of how you'll be riding along. So Zion National Park is definitely a beautiful park to visit. If you've never been, if you just have been, you still want to go back. That's just part of the beauty of the different national parks. They definitely have picked some beauties. So even if you don't get a chance to get out and do any of the hikes, and just have a little bit of time or don't have the opportunity to do hikes, the tram is a great way to experience part of the park here. Footage, I will say the lines to get onto the trams today were unbelievable. I sat in line so long. Even though we were in October, it was still extremely packed. So you will want to keep that in mind if you are trying to make time or anything. Even to get on the tram at the visitor center, it was like a 30 to 45 minute wait just in the line to get onto the tram to start viewing the park. Of course, depending on what year that's going to be, what day of the week it's going to be, that's all going to vary. And of course, if you can stay away from any school breaks, if you're there during school season, not on weekends, that's all going to limit your crowds. As you can see, you get some beautiful views back of the canyon here. So it was altogether a great and beautiful day. Love the trail. We'll look forward to seeing you on another adventure down the road. If you like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. We'll see you next time.